talking about stories from Palestine and Somalia. And to moderate this fireside chat is Meron Estafanos. She's my Eritrean sister. She's actually Eritrean, but she grew up in Sweden. And then her company is in Uganda. And she is the founder of Bitcoin Innovation Hub. She will be introducing the panelists. Please give her a round of applause. A real round of applause, please. All the way from Eritrea, Sweden, Uganda. She's what we call the United Nations. Thank you.
How's everybody doing today? Good. So, actually, I want you guys to introduce yourselves. So I'll start with Hadiya.
I'm Hadiya. I run an organization around community peace building, resilience building, human rights, women's empowerment, and bringing voices to the voiceless.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, yeah. So I set this up in 2020 as what I witnessed was a lot of young kids being drawn into extremism and hateful, dangerous ideologies, and nobody was caring about their future. So I was somebody who had witnessed it. It genuinely upset me what I saw. So I set up Groundswell to try and, I guess what everyone's doing here, solve a problem. And that's how I fitted in. I didn't think I fitted in, but solving problems.
Thank you. And Fadi?
Good morning. My name is Fadi El Salameen. I'm Palestinian American, and I'm a fellow at the Bitcoin Policy Institute.
So, Hadiya, can you tell us how is your organization using Bitcoin?
That's a funny one, actually, because when I was looking at all of these things, the builders, the technologists, and I was thinking, how on earth do I fit in? And then I saw the Human Rights Foundation. I was like, oh, maybe this is where I could get in. But I still didn't understand how. And then as I got to learn, I realized everyone puts themselves inside of Bitcoin, if you see what I mean. Like, we reflect what that means. And what I'm trying to explain is the very seed of Bitcoin, from what I learned, was it's very altruistic. So Satoshi Nakamoto, and he could have been a person or a group of people. The idea was we plant this seed where human beings from any walk of life, any religion, any race, has the opportunity for prosperity. And I was like, wow. So all of the technology stuff went right over my head, but that resonated with me. And so that's how I started to become more interested. What do you mean? How does this solve problems? And I saw how, with my work, people have so many barriers. There are blocks everywhere. There are women who are being, subjected to domestic violence. They cannot leave their house. That is a block. But if we put a lifeline of Bitcoin to them, could we relieve that block? War zones, there's a block. People cannot leave the countries. My own grandfather couldn't leave his country easily. But if there was a lifeline of Bitcoin, he could do that. Like we saw, Eric showed the beads. This is how many Africans store value. But if there's a drought and a farmer cannot get access to money, he's destitute and his family are. So you see where I'm going with this. There are just solutions to these problems that I can see. And Fadi will say, even in war zones, I won't take that part away from you, but that's how, as well, I'm seeing Bitcoin solving issues and being that altruistic way of solving different problems in the world. Even when I was watching CK, there was a tuk-tuk driver as well. So literally anyone and everyone who is in a situation can benefit from this.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the women that you are helping? Who are they? And
so I'm very privileged to have my sister in the audience. Hanan, please stand up. She's an MBE and won awards from the Queen, but her passion has been inspiring to me for the past 15 years. I've been working with her, and she's very proud to be involved with Somaliland and the future of Somaliland. Everybody is so excited for her. She's going to be at the inauguration. So just a round of applause for Somaliland, and I hope that it's going to be a great, great place. And if Hanan's in it, it will be. So Hanan is very interested in bringing women to the table of peace building. Women need to be at the forefront of this discussion, but guess what? There's another block. The block is that men in the various countries, they are blocking women from becoming part of politics. But if we can give the lifeline again, we can lift that up and provide support for women to come to the table and, bring peace. So this is the type of work I want to do with my African sisters and, different parts of the world with this philosophy.
how easy or how hard was it teaching traditional African women to receive Bitcoin?
It's quite fun, actually. We had, with the power of technology, you can WhatsApp somebody from London and have a discussion. And I brought my brother Abu Bakr in as well. And he parted with his knowledge. What I love about this community is everyone is so far so loving and so giving, and that's what we need to maintain. The vibrant, positive energy should be reflected to Bitcoin. Otherwise, I see this tree that is giving and giving, but it'll only give as long as we give. If we start sucking out resources and doing this hodling business and not spending money, then that's quite the antithesis to what the principles are. So back to your question, it was quite fun. I opened up Hanan a wallet, and she's become orange-pilled while she's been here, and she's so in love with everybody. So she's definitely going to use, and she met with Abu Bakr as well. So you've got activists, technologists coming together and building something quite profound and amazing. So it's, we're unashamedly very, very hopeful and positive. So.
Thank you. Fadi, tell us, when did you start using Bitcoin?
So I grew up in the West Bank until I was about 14, and then moved to the US and did my education there. But ever since I was a young, as a kid, I used to be a street vendor. I would sell things on the street, corn, falafel, all these things. That was how I made my money. We were a modest family, I was the oldest of 9 children, and very lucky to have had a scholarship and studied in America. And I really wanted to give back to the village and the people that I came from, and I wanted to see if I could help. And I started by, raising awareness around 2010-11 about corruption within Palestine, and then faced a lot of pushback, had my accounts frozen at the time, and then as a result, a few years later, with the help of friends like Alex Gladstein and others, I started turning towards Bitcoin. But today, it's a different case of use, and I'm sure most of you are aware of what is happening in Gaza. And we're almost at a time where I'm really worried about our future as human beings, regardless of who you are or where you're from or what you believe in. And a world where a 10-year-old has to write her living will because she doesn't know if she will live another day is not a good world for us, is not a good world for our children, is not a world that I want to watch without doing something about. And I'm not talking hypotheticals. I want to just share a few stories about why I'm doing more with Bitcoin in Palestine, in Gaza, even in Israel and in other places. Because I do see the world today as a very dark place. But I do see also glimpses of hope. And sadly, they're in relating to our world here, they're just two words, Bitcoin and Nostr. But I just want to read to you what the future looks like. And if we don't do something about it, it doesn't look good.
Let's wait with that. And I want you to walk us through how was it, the usage of Bitcoin before the conflict, before October 7, and the difference now, how is Bitcoin saving lives in Palestine, in Gaza, or in West Bank?
In the West Bank, it's a little easier, obviously. In Gaza, there's nothing now. There are no banks, no hospitals, no universities, no schools, clinics, UN schools. Basically, when I speak with people, they tell me it looks like the end of the world is here, and we're just roaming, going from one place to another without knowing where we are going. We don't know where we're going to sleep. We don't know where we're going to get our next meal from. We don't know if we can... basically, just imagine people walking around with nothing on them, not knowing where to go, and not knowing what the next hour or next day will look like. I spoke with some friends who told me that, you know, we would find a house in the middle of the night, knock on the door and say, would you please just let our sisters or, you know, our mothers use your bathroom, or just rest for the night until the next morning, just until light comes out in the next morning, and then we'll continue. So it looks, basically, you have 2 million plus people who are under extremely distressful situation, and there is no way to access fiat money. There's no way to do anything. And even people who are getting paid and getting salaries, there's just no bank to go to. The banks don't exist anymore. So that's more or less what I realized I need to do. And I've been sending Bitcoin to people who want to go out and get out of Gaza into Egypt. I've been sending Bitcoin to people who are already in Egypt and they don't know how to start their life. The people who just walked, families with nothing, literally nothing. And they need to buy everything from toothbrush to shoes to, you know. But, you know, Palestine in particular is an interesting case because it's possible where this could be a case where Bitcoin could be one day the main currency and the only currency, because right now there is no central bank. We do not have a currency of our own. And so and because of Gaza and because of how things are developing, there are people who are moving their money, and these are wealthy, you know, traders or people who created companies, moving their money entirely into Bitcoin because they realize this is the only way I can access it, even in the midst of destruction, in the midst of complete chaos. And so that's more or less what is happening. There's one story that I do like to tell because I feel like it's the only way I can honor my friend who lost his son. Is a 10-year-old son. My friend lives in Egypt. His son lived in Gaza with his mother, with the entire family. And he's his only son. And he basically would tell me, Fadi, it's the only reason I'm living, literally the only reason I'm dealing and working just so I can support him and his mother. One day I get a message from him right after the war happened, and he says, Fadi, is there anything you can do? Is there anything you can help me with? You live in Washington, maybe you know some people, but I need to get my son out. I need to get his mother out. And I tried every which way I could. I failed. I could not get him out or anybody else. Few days later, he tells me that, and it was all over the news, that his 10-year-old son, his mother, the entire family was literally killed in one bombing. And it took me months to be able to pick up the phone and call him again or even have a conversation. What do you say to someone who lost their only child, the only reason that they had to live? And with the help of other friends, I was able to sort of move him to start saying, and thinking, hey, you could help others just resettle. You could help other families who couldn't, who could get their kids out. And the only way I could really do that is by being able to send him money. And I couldn't send a wire transfer to Egypt because there's all kinds of corruption issues. So the only way I'm doing it, other people are doing it, is Bitcoin. And maybe if there's one good thing that came out of this whole entire chaos is that everybody started realizing, okay, maybe there's a whole area where we could invest our money, we could rebuild our life in Gaza one day using Bitcoin. So there's all kinds of Palestinians now, whether in Egypt or Dubai or other places, the only way they will send money or deal with this chaos is entirely just by using Bitcoin. So that's my focus. That's what I want to do. There's nothing else I'm interested in. If you could help me, if there's something that you can do to help me do this in Gaza and in other places in Palestine, please do. Please reach out. But I'm being genuine when I say right now, Bitcoin and the whole entire idea of decentralization, moving from under the thumb of whatever authority that wants to just keep you, below, is the only hope that I see for me, for other Palestinians, and for my people, and people who are even like all over the Middle East, like places like Syria, Lebanon, people who are really being held down and controlled with, and being repressed, especially financially and in other ways.
I've been donating Bitcoin to Palestinians that are in Palestine. So 5 months ago, I sent Bitcoin, and so the person that I sent to, the exchange rate was, they took 27% out of $100. So could you tell us how are Palestinians exchanging? I know it's different places right now. Last week I sent, and it was 30% that they took. But you told me that there are some that are taking 1%. So could you tell us about it more?
Yeah, so it really, in Palestine, it depends who you know and where you are and all of that. There's always all kinds of bad human beings who will take advantage of every situation. I've managed to develop a network where I will not take any sort of transaction fee because it's life and death, literally. This is not the time to be, taking advantage of a financial opportunity. So I've activated friends who have money and they're able to help when they receive the Bitcoin. Some convert it to USDT. Some will just move it as is, as Bitcoin, and send it to others. It really depends who you're talking to and who you're dealing with. There isn't one space where this is the Bitcoin exchange place where you can go and exchange your Bitcoin. That doesn't really exist. It's just who you know and how you can get that money to the right people and get it exchanged.
Hadiya, so how is Bitcoin usage? How are the women in Somaliland exchanging the Bitcoin that you're sending them? Could you give us an example? What's the percentage?
Give you.
Right now, I'm just going to be honest, this is a very new thing for us. We're interested in seeing how this progresses, but we did try use Tanda, and we gave Bitcoin, and someone was able to buy medicine as a result, so it's working. So this is, as the technology is getting better, it's easier to exchange because people don't adopt something that's not practical at the end of the day. And when we see this practicality and the technology improving, we'll see the adoption better.
What's next for your organization?
Just on that point is to key into our existing networks where we have this trust, which I've been building it's painstaking to build trust over 10, 15 years. And I want to utilize my connections to tell people how this can free their lives and bring peace. And what I find about Africa, it's a very spiritual nation. We have, in this concept of desiring for yourself what you desiring for your brother what you want for yourself. This is a concept that is around all the various faiths and religions. Even if you're not a faith, it resonates with us. And this concept of when you give, you don't lose. This is also a very big concept. So with these principles, I will keep doing what I do and see where Bitcoin can just be a tool and be utilized to help the existing work that we're doing.
All right, how can people learn more about your organization? Do you have a website?
Yeah, we have a website. It's called Groundswell Project. You can, I'm not on Twitter, but I'm on LinkedIn, and there's some pictures there. Follow me on LinkedIn, Hadiya Masih, and see some of the photos. I've taken actually some very moving pictures of the unions made at this conference. Very powerful. And what I want to say to everyone as well is this is such a hopeful time. And when I've been hearing the speeches, like this is the time for those who have been told they've got no prospects to actually turn that on its head and say, yes, we are the kings and queens of our own destiny. And that's not just speech, that can actually happen. So yeah, I just want you guys to keep up this positive energy, because that's what we'll feed into Bitcoin. And as soon as we come any other way, that's how it will turn as well, if I'm making any sense.
Thank you. And Fadi, how can we help for Palestinians? How do we reach you, or do you have an NGO?
I don't have an NGO. I will probably not have an NGO. I do everything as a person, not as an NGO. And I think that's how you can help. You could do exactly the same thing. Everybody more or less knows an organization, knows a place where they will take Bitcoin. So if you want recommendations, I'm happy to give you recommendations. I don't take donations. I don't raise money from anybody. But I will tell you this organization, this group, that place. I'm more than happy to do that.
Thank you. May we see a free Palestine in our lifetime. Thank
Sure.
you, boss.